going to ask off the back of winning the Olympic medal. I mean, and I guess to an outsider's view, you would think, oh, this is the chance to build momentum to keep the whole thing going. But it must be difficult to get back going again once you've achieved that ambition
Yeah.
that's been seemingly in the distance for so long. I mean, how does it feel when you actually achieve that goal, and did it feel like you expected it to feel?
Yeah, so I basically immediately after I won my Olympic medal, I was like, boom, I've had the year of my life. I'm just going to springboard on from this and I'm going to go to Worlds and Olympics and win multiple medals, which, is an athlete's dream. Like the first dream is to win medals, but then to back it up with more medals. And the way I would describe how me as a person, what happened to me after the Olympics was, when I'm sure a lot of people can relate to it, when you've got a big presentation or you've got something big coming up and it's building up, and then it happens and then everything just goes, ugh, and then you get ill and you're just like sick straight away because of the release of stress. I would say that happened to me, but on like a macro level. So it was almost like I'd done this massive thing. I'd worked my ass through COVID. It'd been a 5-year Olympic cycle. And I know everyone else had gone through that. That isn't just me. Everyone else did a 5-year Olympic cycle. But for me, with the way I train and the amount of, people say I'm intense. I'm on it all the time. I'm bed at 10, clock my sleep. Okay, I didn't get enough sleep. So next night I'm so intense with it. But that's the way in which I've had to work, that I felt like once I'd done it, everything just relaxed and everything just was like a relief. And that was like physically and mentally, like in the month after, it's just crazy what happened to me in these last 2 years. Like in the month after Tokyo, I got glandular fever, which knocked me. And then because I was trying to train through glandular fever, my Achilles flared up and I got a tear. So I had to be in a boot. In that same year, I had 3 wisdom tooth infections. I then also, then I went to the world, snapped my pole, tore my hamstring, then tore it again, then tore it again. Then my Achilles flared up last year. I also had a shoulder injection. Like there has literally been so many things, and it's just been a string of disaster after disaster, that I think it was just, if I could go back, I would take the whole year off after the Olympics. And it's so easy to say that because I've been there, but who on earth after winning an Olympic bronze medal goes, I'm going to take a year off? Like that doesn't happen. So I just think my body was like, enough's enough. Like you've pushed me so hard. I need a break. And whether you like it or not, if you keep going, I'm gonna stop you. Because even I tore my hamstring in Eugene, breaking the pole. And I'm not really superstitious, but I honestly believe it was like, you're training through Achilles pain, so we're going to make your pole snap and you're going to tear your hamstring, so please stop. But I didn't. And then in the gym, in between Worlds and Commonwealth Games, I broke a bone in my back. Right at the top there, I was doing weights and the bar crushed a bone in my back. And I was like, nope, I'm going to carry on. So then I went to the Commonwealth Games and I tore my hamstring, and the body was like, please stop. And eventually, like I did. And I think it really was my body just saying to me, you need to rest, you need to regroup. And I think it's similar for my mind. My mind was just trying to carry on because, like I said, that's what I do. Like us athletes, that's our identity, that is what we do. Like what else am I going to be doing? So I think after that Olympics, it's not how I felt it was gonna go. And I didn't think it was going to feel like that in terms of physically, but in terms of like everything else that goes with the Olympics, I'd, I'd been in the sport long enough to not be naive enough to come away from that Olympics with the medal and be like, okay, boom, I'm going to be a millionaire. Like I've been in the game long enough to know that wasn't going to happen, but I thought there'd be something, but literally nothing's changed, like no financial reward, nothing like that. And the thing that bothers me about that is, imagine I was a male 100-meter runner and I won Olympic bronze medal. Like it would be chalk and cheese. And I just think I'm not like a bit bitter about that because again, like I know the deal, but it's just leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. And, you know, I don't think it should have to be like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess as well with the way the sort of the whole Olympic sort of ideal is portrayed, that's there's the glamour in front of it, and there's so much sort of prestige attached to it. I mean, how healthy do you think that is as an image, or should the conversation, and I know things are changing a little bit, but should the conversation be starting to move more towards, as you're saying, the happiness is a priority, because it must make a huge difference to your competition or performance.
Yeah, I think like prioritizing happiness and joy and things like that gets the best out of people. So I don't see why that couldn't be a priority. But it's really difficult when you're funding athletes with taxpayers' money, because it's just a given that, okay, this is taxpayers' money. We want to see rewards. We want to see medals for that. And therefore it just breeds a culture within, all these sporting national governing bodies that we're going for medals, and it's all about performance. And athletes, we get it, we understand that, but it's a massive detriment to our mental health and the way we are. When a sport is so outcome driven, it really does mess with you. And I think that's why, a lot of people have gone with these post-Olympic blues and tried to get more support out there, because what I worry is, when I hear someone saying, oh, I'm putting everything into it, I'm putting all my money into it, I'm throwing everything at it, I just want to be an Olympian. I'm like, I get it, but I don't think it's worth it if you're having to put so much effort in, because the Olympics is great and the Olympic experience is great. But when I strip it back as to what it is, it's so fickle and so like extrinsic. Like the reason why everyone likes it is because it's all sparkly and new, and you've got this, you go to this kitting out where you get 3 bags of kit, Aldi throw a load of food at you and you're made to feel really special. And then you go to the Olympic Village and there's vending machines all over the show where you can get free Coke. You go and queue up for McDonald's and you get free McDonald's every day. And us as humans, we like new stuff, we like free stuff, and that makes us feel good. That's kind of our human nature. So I can see why, I get swept away in it as well. It's like, how fun is this? Like, oh, I'm going to take 10 bottles of Coke home with me because it's free. And then you come home and you sit down and you think, I've just worked so hard for the last 4 years for this 2-week experience, and it's just a load of freebies. Because when you're in that Olympic stadium, you could be anywhere. You could be at the Birmingham Diamond League that's full of people. When you're out there, you could be anywhere. So you're basically pinning everything on this really fickle experience of shiny freebies, and it's very short-lived. And you're made to feel really special in this 2-week window, and then you come home, and so many people that I know are like, it was a massive anticlimax, because I came home and I went back into reality, and the Olympic experience is so far away from reality that you're like, oh, that's made me feel like crap.
Yeah. Do you think, sort of having a bit of distance with it, is it ultimately worth it?
I have thought about this, and I think like the more you're in it and the more you're in the athletics world, and your Twitter feed is full of athletics and your Instagram's full of athletics, I think when you're in it, you feel like it's worth it. Whereas I've kind of stepped away the past couple of months. Like I've deleted Twitter. I'm on Instagram, but I follow like 200 people, but 90% of those people are muted. And I have like my mum, my sister, some of my closest friends on there. And I've been going in and out of the Christie's hospital. It's taken me 2 hours to drive there with my dad in the passenger seat. I walk through a hospital that is literally rammed with people, and all of them have cancer. And I'm like, I have perspective, and I think I'll get even more perspective once I retire. But once you're out of that athletics world, you realize how insignificant and how much it really doesn't matter. And that's not to say it doesn't matter to me, because winning that Olympic medal meant everything, but I just sacrificed and put myself through so much hell that I just think when I step out of it, I'm like, I don't know whether it was worth it. I'm really not sure. And I think in time with processing it, I'll know a bit more, but I deep down think it probably wasn't worth it. And that just really saddens me, because I think it should be worth it for the accolade it is. I think it should. But I think the way in which I had to achieve that medal with, like I've said, the no stone unturned approach and taking on so many unhealthy behaviors, it just, when I'm out of it, it makes me, and I've got perspective, then I'm just like, I don't know whether it was worth it. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, and when you, going back to what you're saying, obviously about the way it's funded, the taxpayers funding it, is there then a responsibility to put more of that money towards the support of athletes, whether that's before, during, after these major competitions, or just as a service that is there all the time?
Yeah, I think so. And they actually trialed it at the Winter Olympics. Team GB took a duty of care person. So their sole aim there was duty of care, because I've been on teams where, the staff are so busy, physios, doctors, whatever, you forget, because you're living your world. And, I speak to my husband, he's living everything for me. And, if you have a coach, their only job is you, they're living everything for you. Whereas you forget, like, the PD, the physios, the doctors, they're not just living for you. There's other people they've got to deal with. So when you have an issue and it's everything in your world, that person can't just dedicate their whole life to sorting you out. And I felt that a couple of times where it's been like, oh, I'm busy, or I can't deal with this, or whatever. And because sport makes you so vulnerable, like sport can make you so mentally resilient, but it can also, there's the other end of the spectrum, and it makes you so like horrible. Like the last 6 months, I've felt so paranoid. Like if I've got to a point where if someone didn't text me back within a couple of hours, I would be like, oh, they don't believe in me, they hate me. Like I don't want to text them. Like I think they're ignoring me. And the sport has made me like that, because it's really like pummeled me into the ground. So like if, someone had texted me, if you're in a vulnerable state and someone texts you, go, I'm really busy, I can't deal with this right now, that affects you so much. So I think having that person on a team, and their position is literally to look after athlete welfare, is massively important, because I do think sport, look at the Simone Biles situation. She took a break from it because it was all too much. And she even got criticized for that. Like, oh, you're so soft. I thought sports people were meant to be soft. You're meant to be tough. Look at Harry Maguire getting a load of abuse. Like, it is not okay. And sport, it's an entertainment business, and people forget that they're humans at the other end of that. I think people just think we're here to entertain, whereas actually, I've said this to Paul a lot. I've said to him, I wish I had never got good at it. Because, and I've said this all along, is when I went down to Blackburn, I just loved pole vaulting, and I wanna jump 490, but I don't want to be drawn into all the other rubbish that comes with it. I wish I could just jump 490 at Blackburn Harriers at the Northern League, and that was good enough. Because there's sometimes that I do wish, like, I just wish I'd never got good at it and never got dragged into all of this, because I feel like my life would have just been a lot simpler and I would have been a lot happier.